Good evening and welcome to Talk Back with Daddy's Girls. My name is Cynthia Graham and I'm your host.
My name is Lynette Patton and I'm your co-host, and we are welcoming you to another episode where our desire is to educate, motivate, inspire, and empower our viewers.
Yes, tonight we are so excited to have the man, Mr. Gregory Bennett with us tonight. He is an entrepreneur extraordinaire. He is an investor, a coach. He is he's just about building wealth and building people. So tonight we are so excited that he would take time out of his busy schedule to come and talk to us and our audience. Thank you for being with us, Mr. Bennett.
Yes, welcome, Mr. Bennett.
How are you tonight?
I'm wonderful. It's a pleasure being here.
Thank you.
Yeah, you know I have a busy schedule, but when you said that you need me on here to talk to the people about wealth, I couldn't turn you down.
I'm so glad. I know that that's your thing, empowering others, and that's what we're about, empowering and educating and inspiring and motivating people. So, Greg, I know that right now, this is a new buzzword, generational wealth. Mm-hmm. It seems to be like that's the thing right now. People are starting to talk about it. And, you know, it's something because we never heard that before. Now, the past 10 years or so, I think we're hearing it more and more. People are starting to really want to focus on generational wealth, building wealth for their children and their children's children.
Yes.
So what do you think about that? What is your approach to generational wealth?
Well, I think that generational wealth is creating wealth for yourself, learning how to create wealth, and then educating and passing that wealth on to the next generation. And so, like you said, we hear it a lot, but few actually do it. And so for me personally, I take action, and I want to take action. I only have one child. And so I want my daughter, who's now 23, she just graduated from college. I want to start the process of educating her, and she's been educated all throughout the years. I always tell her that her number one job, her number one focus is to keep her credit straight. And I think that's part of building generational wealth. And then it's just the educational part. And then just, being bold and just taking action. Mm-hmm. So for me, it's creating the wealth and then educating the next generation on how to build upon, the wealth that I've created. And then hopefully if she does a good job, my grandchildren will inherit that wealth and move on. The sad part about generational wealth is wealth, generally speaking, across the board only lasts 3 or 4 generations. And so the only way to sustain that is to, is to educate and to, make sure that the other generations are doing what they should be doing in terms of, just really focused on credit, focused on saving, focused on investing, not trying to keep up with the Joneses, making sacrifices, things like that.
Yes, indeed.
I know that some people don't even feel like they have wealth or can attain wealth to pass down. So what would be your definition of wealth and what they can pass down? Can you encourage our audience as to what they can pass down and how to, like you said, educate their children and the other generations, but to get a mindset in their own minds of having something to pass down?
And so what comes to mind is, number one, what you just said is mindset, having that mindset. But I do think that wealth creation begins with home ownership. And so at the very least, owning your own home and living in that home and then being able to pass that house down to the next generation. So for me, it just really begins and ends there. And then the other part of that is being responsible and getting all the right insurances and things like that, so that when one passes away, the wealth doesn't pass away with it.
Right.
It is said in the Jewish community, when one passes away, the breadwinner, 2 millionaires are created because they understand how to build wealth as it relates to insurance and insurance policies, and then also real estate in the African American community. When the head of household passes away, GoFundMe pages are built.
We talked about that.
Yeah. So at the very least, it's as I go back to the credit and building the credit so that you can, obtain a home, a house. In my family, my father, I never lived in a house that my father owned. By the time I graduated from college and moved out, he retired from the military and then got a full-time job after the military. So with his military pension and his federal, he was a contractor, he was able to buy his first house.
Mm-hmm.
So it's his mission now. My mother has passed away, but he's still living. And his mission now is to, allow us, his children, to inherit that house. So that right there is generational wealth. It's because of the home ownership.
Awesome. So when we're talking about building generational wealth, Greg, you talked about so many different aspects of it. How young do you think we should start imparting these necessary steps in our children so that they can in turn pass it down to their children? Because I'm telling you, although I saw my parents, my grandparents, I saw them purchasing homes and saving. My grandmother was probably the best saver I've ever known. But she didn't teach me anything. I saw, but I didn't know. So at what age do you think we should start imparting those things in our children?
I think as early as possible. And it's, I think your parents, my grandparents, I think they were great role models, but at least my parents never really talked about wealth. And maybe because they weren't educated on wealth. But to answer your question, as early as possible. So, for my daughter, my daughter graduated from Hampton University at 22 years old. I made sure since the 8th grade that she started working on her credit and educating her on her credit. And so the same year, which was last year, she graduated, she bought a house. So she bought her first house last year. When she was probably around 12 or 13 years old, I was able to get her a life insurance policy, what's called a IUL, Index Universal Life Policy, that she can actually borrow against. But not only that, comes with the death benefit. But I stopped paying on it probably in another 5 years. And then when she turns 40 years old, because I got her that IUL, she gets a retirement payment for the rest of her life through that insurance policy. And so as early as possible, we've got to start talking to our children about wealth. There's games that can be played, like Monopoly and other games that help educate. And then every step of the way for me, my background started with real estate. Every step of the way, I took my daughter with me and didn't really say much, but I just took her with me just so that she could see and visualize. And then when she got into her teens, I really started talking about wealth and wealth creation. She told me today that she wants to purchase an Airbnb. And so her mindset is already there because, we started talking about it at a very young age.
Mm-hmm. So you said it right there. Communication is the key.
Absolutely.
Communicating with them in a way that they can understand at an early age and progressively helping them along the way. That's the key.
It is. So I was wanting to ask you, for those that may have gotten, let's say, a late start in life, do you have any encouraging instructions or words for those that, like I said, may have gotten a late start in life, maybe just be hearing this and, now they're wanting to look into ways that they can pass down wealth to their children? What would you say?
So it's never too late to get started. I mean, it's optimal to get started at a young age, as young as possible, but it's never too late. It's never, ever too late. And then, the lessons of focused on credit and investing in your first house. And then from that first house, you know, a couple years later, buy an investment property. Make sure all your insurances are right. It's never too late. I mean, and so I have a lot of examples of people around me who got started on what they would consider late, but they're doing extremely well now. Some are millionaires and they got started in their 40s, some in their 50s. And so it's just never too late. Obviously best as young as you can, but it's just never too late. We often hear like the real estate market, if you didn't get in it 10 years ago, you missed out.
Mm-hmm.
It's late to get into real estate. I mean, it's always a good time to get into real estate. It's always a good time to build wealth. The biggest thing is just to educate yourself and then go for it and take action.
Mm-hmm.
And then one thing I failed to mention is, but I think you guys mentioned it, you've got to be around all the right people.
Yes.
And like-minded people who are going or have gone where you really want to go.
Mm-hmm.
And so you can talk about it to them, bounce ideas off of, and that's just, you know, really good encouragement for you. But it's never too late to get started.
Right. I believe that. I definitely believe it's never too late to get started. What I wanted to ask you also is, we know that a lot of very wealthy people have become wealthy through real estate. But we also know that that's not the only, you know, avenue, but that is, quote unquote, the great avenue, you know, to go down if you want to become wealthy. Some people don't believe this, that you can purchase property with no money. Because I am one of your students and you are my mentor, you have taught me a lot about actually purchasing property, with no money. Is that a myth, or is it not? Or is it the truth?
Well, it's definitely the truth. And so kind of in general, we want to build our wealth using other people's money. And so we don't always necessarily have to use our own money to build wealth. And so when we talk about using other people's money, we're talking about the bank's money. We're talking about private lenders' money. Sometimes we're talking about the seller's money. And so to answer your question, you definitely can buy real estate, invest in real estate using other people's money. And so here's an example, and I do it all the time. I bought a property last year in Northeast DC. I borrowed the money from what's called a hard money lender. A hard money lender is a lender that lends on for a short period of time, 6 months to a year, a little higher interest rate. But I borrowed the money to purchase the property. I also borrowed the money to renovate the property from a hard money lender. But I still needed money for closing costs, and I still needed money to get the contractor started. I borrowed that money from a private lender, an individual that I knew that had a 401k that I borrowed probably $50,000 from them. I gave them, you know, a 10% return, and I came into the deal using none of my own money. And so hard money lender to acquire the property and for the renovations, a private lender for closing costs and to get my contractors started. And so it took about 6 months to complete the deal, to renovate the property. And then I put it on the market, sold the property, paid back the hard money lender, paid back the private lender. And then, you know, I made I had a six-figure payday on that deal. And so you can do it. There's all kinds of different creative financing strategies and things like that. I mean, that's a form of creative financing. But in order to do that, it takes coaching, it takes education, it takes experience. And so it goes back to the same thing, just being around all the right people who know how to do things like that and who have done those things that can walk you through and coach you through transactions like that.
Awesome. That's real creative. That is really creative. So if you were, let's say, coaching your daughter or someone else, where would you say the first place to start? Where would someone who wants to start building generational wealth, where would they start?
It's sort of what we've already talked about. It's educating. I don't think you can build wealth with bad credit, so you've got to work on your credit. You can have bad credit now and still get going. So working on your credit, having that mindset, buying your first house. And then we don't talk a lot about insurance, but having all the right insurances, because with insurance, some insurance products you can build wealth with it. And so I would say get as early as possible. The younger you are, getting all the right insurances, because it's a lot cheaper. The younger you are and the healthier you are. And then with permanent insurance, which is whole life and universal life, it comes with a cash value, and that cash value accumulates through compounded interest. And so you want the insurance policies accumulating cash value. I always recommend real estate as well. But then the other thing that I always recommend is entrepreneurship, owning your own business. Owning your own business, you're your own boss, sky's the limit. When I first got out of college, I worked a 9 to 5, and to be honest with you, I hated it. I hated going into work. I hated my boss, everything, because I knew that in January, I knew that by December, I knew what my salary was. I knew how much money I was going to make.
Exactly.
I wanted to put myself in a position where the sky was the limit. Like, I wasn't working a 9 to 5, you're overworking, underpaid. Being an entrepreneur, you get paid for the work that you do. If you put in hard work, you're going to get paid for it. So I always recommend, especially to millennials, to find something that you like and maybe start off part-time owning your own business, and then hopefully make it full-time. So to answer your question, I think entrepreneurship plays that role. Home ownership plays that role. And then having all the right, insurances really helps out for your financial future.
Awesome.
Good.
Those are awesome tips. And that's great information, because I think a lot of people don't know the opportunities that are out there as it pertains to insurance. I know that a lot of people don't know that. And you spoke on a couple of different types of insurance, but I think in educating our young people, especially the millennials that are coming up and just starting to even think about insurance, not making sure that they don't choose that term life or whatever that is that's going to have no value at the end of the day, to know what is profitable that they can build generational wealth. And I think that hopefully in the future that maybe there can be a platform that we can actually invite the millennials to know more about that. What do you think about that? Maybe we can create something that we can open the door for them to be educated.
Yeah, so in our community, the Black community, we're underinsured. And part of the reason is only 6% of all insurance agents are of color. And so which means that we don't have the capacity, only 4%, the capacity to actually go out in our community. So we're not being educated. And those that are licensed in the white community, they're not going into the Black community to educate and to sell policies and to help African Americans preserve wealth, because that's what life insurance is. Preserve wealth. It's the transfer of wealth. But then again, there's products that help you become wealthy. And so underneath, like life insurance, there's annuities that help with your retirement. There's and other retirement policies that you can purchase that again have cash value that you can actually borrow against tax-free. Like you can borrow against the the money that's being accumulated in your policies. And then there's new insurance where you pay that policy for 20 years you don't use it, it has what's called a cash back option. You can get all your money back that you paid into the policy and still keep that policy going. So it's just about educating. And
Right.
honestly, the insurance, which comes under the financial services moniker, is the richest industry. There's more millionaires that are made in financial services than any other industry, including real estate.
That is so true. That is true.
That's awesome. That's something I didn't know, because I always thought that real estate was the top. I didn't know that insurance was.
Yeah. If you Google it, insurance is number one. Insurance has made more millionaires than anybody, than any other industry.
That's awesome.
It's because within insurance, in terms of selling insurance, they have what's called renewals. So I sell you a policy today.
Yep.
As long as you pay on that policy, next year when you go to renew, I get paid again.
Yep, annual renewable.
That policy, let's say for 20 years, I sold you that one policy, I get paid for 20 years. And so that's passive income. And then in insurance, if I bring you along and say, hey, this is a great opportunity, it's a great industry, and I help train you, and I introduce you to the company, every policy that you sell, I get paid too. It's called an override. So I get an override. And then every year that you sell something and get a renewal, I get a renewal too for everything you sold. So there's overrides involved and there's bonuses. It's a great industry. And then you combine the financial services with real estate, boy, you really doing something for yourself.
Really doing something.
Yes, indeed.
So what I hear you say is multiple streams of income, huh?
There you go. So multiple streams of income, and that's how you become wealthy. You will never, ever become wealthy with just one stream, even two streams of income. And so when you think about wealthy people, they have 4 or 5 or 6 different streams of income. And so then the question is, how many streams can you have? And so you master one, get great at that, and start making money passively, and then you add something else. And so within real estate, within financial services, even within those classes, there's different things that you can do. For example, in real estate, you can wholesale real estate, fix and flip real estate, buy and hold real estate. And then even under buy and hold, there's Airbnb, there's commercial, there's, what I'm getting ready to get into is assisted living facilities. And so all of that is under real estate. And so there's multiple streams.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what we really have to do. We really have to educate. We need multiple streams of income, different buckets of money, and that money coming in what we call passively, making money while we sleep, in order to build wealth. And then we educate and pass that wealth on to the next generation.
Awesome.
That's good.
Some great nuggets, We are, I think you have definitely given our audience, and I learned something tonight, that's for sure. I think that you have given us some great nuggets and great food for thought to help us along the generational wealth and freedom. It's freedom.
Absolutely.
Freedom, and that's what we all want. We want to be able to be a blessing to our children and our children's children. And we want the freedom to be able to do what we can do, live life in abundance right now, right?
Absolutely. So we don't want to be a burden. We don't want to be a burden on our children. We definitely want to be an asset to our children.
That's it.
And so we achieve that by educating and then passing on the assets that we've created.
That's true. Thank you so much. Thank you, Mr. Bennett, for coming and sharing with us and giving us such great food for thought and wisdom. Can you tell us how we can get in touch with you on social media, how we can keep up with you?
So the easiest way is Greg Bennett. My name, Greg Bennett Invest, with the S at the end, Greg Bennett Invest, on Instagram. So that's my handle, Greg Bennett Invest.
Awesome. Would you like to tell us a little bit about your coaching program?
So we have a wonderful real estate investment coaching program that actually my brother helps me out with. He runs that, Keith Bennett, where we educate on all the terms, contracts, marketing, how to hire contractors, the creative financing that I just talked about. We have lenders and contractors and all those kinds of things for you. We take our students out in the field. They shadow us out in the field. We even take them to nice little restaurants where they eat up all the food, and they even take food home with them from the restaurant. I think we went to that Italian restaurant. Your husband ate so much you fell asleep there.
Oh my goodness!
So I started the coaching program many years ago because I saw that there's a lot of wonderful coaching programs out here, but they were just so expensive. And so our people in our community need to be educated on real estate investing, but probably couldn't afford it. So what I wanted to do is come up with a program, educating, selling the same things that other people are selling, but they're charging $10,000, $15,000, $20,000. I wanted to make mine more affordable. And so that's what we've done. And so we have our platinum coaching program. If you're interested, you can go to my Instagram and click on my profile. In my bio, it has information on our platinum coaching program.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you again. Thank you so very much for taking time out of your busy schedule to come and share with our audience. Have a great day.
My pleasure.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
So,
wow.
A lot of food for thought.
Yes.
A lot of great ideas on generational wealth that he shared.
Exactly.
And you know what? I think because it was just recently, maybe a couple of years, maybe I say like 10 years ago, that I found out about the insurance where you can build the cash and take it out and do whatever, after it's matured or whatever. Right. I don't know all the ins and outs of it, but I do know that that's a great opportunity.
Yeah. And as you know, our first episode with financial, building financial resolutions. Exactly. She talked about that particular insurance. So what we do want to say is that make sure that you, as Mr. Bennett said, educate yourself. All policies are not beneficial. So if you're looking into that insurance, you want to make sure that it's the right one for you and that you're able to get the benefit out of it that you need. But I really did like the steps of your credit, checking, making sure you have good credit, looking to invest in the real estate, looking into different types of insurance policies and having multiple streams of income.
And then entrepreneurship, I always believe that if you can make what you like to do, your hobby, your business, it's win-win.
Absolutely.
You're making money doing what you love to do. And that's awesome. Awesome. So thanks again. And I hope you you all received something from generational wealth. It's necessary.
Yes,
it's necessary.
And it's not too late to start. Wherever you are, start now. And we encourage you to start teaching your children, opening them up to, the steps that you are taking so that they can pass it down, generation to generation.
Yes. Thank you so much.
Thank you for joining us.
Have a great night.